Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's episode is called Surviving the First Week of an Economic Crash. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel for free. You can also like, comment, and follow us. We're going to have a lot of great celebrity interviews coming up, so make sure you click on that notification bell so you can get notified every time we post a new episode. I'd also like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a great service that allows you to purchase live phone calls from your favorite celebrities. There are more than 100 celebrities to choose from, and the calls begin at just $19.95. So give it a try. HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now, let's get started. Every source we know and trust tells us there are going to be multiple economic bubbles popping soon, and that people should start preparing for that. So, we've got some advice for how to survive the first week of a crash and beyond. And believe me, you'll want to hear this advice because what's coming is not going to be pretty. Now, the crash, it may come in one of two forms. The first form may involve an infrastructure crash caused by hackers or perhaps even an attack of some sort. And the second crash is caused by the terrible state of the economy. You know, the economy now is burdened by crushing amounts of debt never seen before. It is also burdened by a tremendous amount of inflation, which is already hitting people's pocketbooks and which will get much, much worse very, very soon. Now, as the infrastructure crash may hit the power grid or the water supply or the food supply or even the gas supply, preparing for those possibilities will require, some serious effort on your part. We've already seen various examples of such infrastructure attacks and collapses recently. The best way to prepare for it is to start buying extra food and water at the grocery store now. When you go each week, buy 10 or 20% more than you normally do. You want to buy canned goods and dry goods, something with a very distant expiration date. You don't want something, meat is going to go bad if it's not frozen. The minute the power goes out and your fridge dies, your meat's going to be gone in a week or two. So you want to buy canned goods and items that will last quite a while. You also want to keep some real cash at home or someplace else that you trust, because if the power grid does go out, the ATMs will stop working. The banks will remain closed. So accessing your money is not going to be that easy. So you've got to have cash on hand. Remember those words, cash on hand. That could mean the difference between eating and not eating. It also means that credit cards will be useless for a while. They may be useless for a day. They may be useless for 6 months, depending on the severity and type of the crash or the attack. What's interesting is that people have grown very accustomed to plastic, and they have this unconscious feeling that it's always going to be an option. That may not be the case. Next, if you're taking any medication at all that your life depends on, then you may want to talk to your doctor about getting an extra prescription, an extra bottle, just in case you need it, in case there's an infrastructural problem. We saw what happened in Texas when the power went out. We see what happens when the communication systems go out, when websites go out. So, if it's a life and death matter, like a prescription, you may want to prepare for that as well. Now, the next issue is going to be security. When people run out of food, they're going to get desperate. And once normal and sane and polite individuals who are always politically correct when it comes to feeding themselves or their children, I assure you, they will start kicking doors in. So you need to do something to protect your family ahead of time. What you get and how you use it is entirely up to you. But just remember, not having anything is a serious, serious problem. Make sure you get something, put it in your car or your house, on your person, whatever you need, make sure you have something. Better to have something and not need it than to need it and not have it. Also, go online and spend $100 to get a portable solar-powered radio with a built-in hand-cranked generator. They're very inexpensive. You can get a digital radio that can be powered off the sun or off a hand crank, and that can even be used to power other devices. Like I said, they're about $100, and if the infrastructure or the grid goes down, the only thing that's worse than sitting at home in the dark with no power is not knowing what's going on out there. You will need to hear what's going on in the world to keep yourself and your family safe. Next, what if we have a financial crash? What can we do in the first week just to stay safe and prepared? Well, you've got to remember what's going to happen in the first week of a bank crash, of an economic crash. First, the banks may limit your withdrawals, or they may prevent any withdrawals at all if they have no power. Next, the credit cards. The credit cards may limit your cash advances or any transactions at all. They may simply be unavailable during the first week or month of a crash. Think about that. Next, you're going to have cell phone service issues. They may be sporadic, they may be limited, or your cell phone may not work at all. Why? Could be a number of things. Maybe their infrastructure, the cell towers have been attacked. Maybe the hackers have taken control of the entire cell phone network. Maybe there are just so many people trying to get on their phones to ask for help that the system is overrun and you can't get through to anybody. Next, you're going to have a 911 service that's going to be overwhelmed, so you probably won't be able to rely on the local police or fire department for help. Why? They may be inaccessible if the grid is down, or they may be overwhelmed with thousands of calls an hour, people asking for help. So you need to sit down with your family and prepare an emergency plan detailing what everybody needs to do, where they need to go, and how they need to handle things in the event that something like this happens. Make sure, this is really important, make sure everybody has a written copy on a piece of paper of all the essential phone numbers, and make sure that that paper is inside their wallets or their purses. Why? Because a lot of people have their phone numbers stashed in their contacts, and that's all electronic. If that crashes, you're not going to have any access to your important family or friends' phone numbers, and that can be life and death. So make sure your most important contacts, family, friends, etc., make sure all of that is written on a piece of paper and that everybody in the family has a copy of that piece of paper so you guys can all reach out to each other one way or another. And you might even want to add email addresses to that just in case, email is working and something else isn't. Next, if possible, try and store enough canned food or groceries for 6 months at least, bare minimum, because who knows how long the grid itself will go down for. Make sure you create a network of friends and family ahead of time that you can all communicate with and help one another in the event that something goes really wrong. That's so important. That's also an extremely important reason to live close to family and friends. You just never know when you'll need each other's help. Another thing that you should prepare for is the amount of fake news that they're going to pump out into the population during the early days or weeks of a crash. I assure you that most of what you hear in the news early on during a crash or an infrastructure collapse, most of what you're going to hear is going to be a lie designed to prevent people from rioting. That's really what they care most about. They really don't care about what happens to you. They care most about rioting that will destroy everything. Electricity will be a problem for anyone who relies on medical equipment to stay alive. So if you're one of those elderly or if you have medical conditions and you rely on an electrical device to keep you alive at home, then you want to make sure at the first sign of trouble that you have the ability to be transported to the nearest hospital. Why? Because when other people realize what's going on, they're going to rush to the hospitals. And by then, the hospitals will be overwhelmed. Now, it's important to get to a hospital because hospitals usually have a generator system which will provide them with power for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, even longer in the event of a power outage. And hopefully that'll be long enough to address your needs. If it's an economic collapse or a banking collapse, and we move into a period of hyperinflation and prices skyrocket to levels never seen before, then you should also prepare for really long food lines and rationing at the stores if and when they open. Another thing that you should prepare for is a tidal wave of fraud. Criminals, con men, they're going to be overwhelming people with all sorts of brilliant new cons designed to rip you off, steal what you have, take your money. They're going to start robbing people left and right and conning them out of their money at every opportunity. Now, you have to be more vigilant than you've ever been, and you're going to have to make sure to teach your family how to be vigilant as well. When things go really bad, it's usually the people in the suburbs who will be the most vulnerable. The reason for that is people in the suburbs are accustomed to living in low crime circumstances, and they really don't have, a lot of them really don't have the street sense necessary to detect the presence of a predator or sense when something's about to go sideways. So it's really, really important that people who do live in the suburbs heighten their vigilance and their preparation for what's coming. So, by the way, if things are really bad and you've had hardcore military training, then you're probably going to be better off than most people. Anyone who has ever been in the military will be at an advantage because of that. The last thing we recommend that you do is that you go online and start watching some of the instructional tutorials and videos on social media, teaching people how to prepare for what's coming, because those videos may end up being lifesavers. Thank you for watching. And I want to tell you that we're going to have more great celebrity interviews coming up and more breaking news stories. So make sure you subscribe to our free channel and you click on the notification bell so you can get notified every time we post a new story. Thank you for watching, and we shall see you soon. Bye-bye.